Welcome to Higher Education Advocates Podcast. This podcast is about supporting students and families as they navigate through the post-secondary complexities of college. From time to time, I will touch base on current events. Expect to hear jam-packed information that includes strategies and tips. The goal is to empower families and help them make informed decisions. Expect to hear from higher education professionals, HR professionals, tax pros, mental health professionals, financial aid administrators, students, parents, plus more. My name is Teresa Harris, and I'm a college financial aid expert. I'm also the founder and owner of Scholarship Momma. I have a master's in higher education, and I am an alum of Robert Morris University in Chicago. I'm a wife, mom, and grandmother. My heart is for our youth, but the information I'm sharing is relevant for all age groups. When it comes to college, my experience as an adult student was fantastic. I was eager to learn and ready to start a new career, and the only way I could pay for college was to borrow loans. One thing I failed to realize is the impact student loans would have on my future. I borrowed thousands of dollars during my undergraduate career, and as time went on, the amount I owed ballooned. As of this recording, I'm still paying off student loans, and I completed college years ago. For the record, I don't have anything against student loans, but I do believe in responsible borrowing, which is something I didn't do. As for the podcast, expect to hear from me on a bi-weekly basis. This podcast is available on Anchor FM and Scholarship Momma YouTube channel. For more information, check out my website, www.scholarshipmomma.com. Hey friends, this is Teresa Harris, aka Scholarship Momma. November is National Scholarship Month. It's a time to raise awareness of scholarship opportunities for current and future college students. I am so excited to have Dr. Tiffany Gethers of Two Gethers Foundation here with me today. Here's some background about Tiffany. Dr. Gethers earned a doctorate of education in interdisciplinary leadership from Governor State University in 2016, where she concentrated in higher education administration. Look, that was a long... To my scholarship Momma listeners, that was a long introduction. Anyway, we want to welcome Dr. Gethers. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. I'm excited about being here. I always say this first. I am a wife. I am a mother of 3 beautiful daughters. I am an advocate for scholars everywhere, a lover of women's empowerment. I love traveling, spending time with my family, but most importantly, spending time with myself. Of course, I'm the co-founder and president of the Two Gethers Foundation, and that is a nonprofit organization where our mission is dedicated to empowering first-generation students attain a college degree. So that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you for that awesome introduction. Tell us a little bit how you got started. Talk me through that.
Okay, well, initially, my husband and I, we started the foundation, the Two Gethers Foundation, in January of 2018. However, the idea of starting a nonprofit to award scholarships to students and to just give food or things away to families in need had lived in my heart for many years, ever since I was a young girl. I just never really knew how to bring my vision to life. I remember in 2014, I shared with my husband that I had a desire to start a nonprofit organization. And before I could even tell him what I wanted to do, he began to share that he had the same desire and wanted to call it something together. I can't remember the name, but it was something together. So at first I thought it was ironic, but now I realize that it wasn't. It was just something divine that just took place. Anyway, after I completed my doctoral studies in 2016, I had this burning desire to just spring into action more than ever before and just began to just make some real efforts to get started. You know, my research is focused on the retention and persistence of first generation college students. And I thought instead of trying to get published right away, that I could make the most impact by addressing the findings of my research through a nonprofit organization. And it's just so happened that the barriers and the challenges that first generation students face happen to align with the services that I always dreamed about providing. So I thought that was something right there. So anyway, I began to put my ideas on paper and I wrote the plan out as if I had the funds readily available to do everything I wanted to do. And that was it. And the foundation didn't even get organized until January 2018. So here we are. But in between all that time, like I said, I was planning and I was honestly dealing with self-doubt and procrastination. And then one day I just said, you know what, Tiffany, get this thing started, get it started. And so here we are.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for the foundation. And to my listeners, you all are in for some impactful information. So, Tiffany, how long have you just told us you've been a scholarship provider for about 2 years, correct?
Yes. Yeah. We've been providing scholarships since we opened in 2018.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, in your opinion, why is it so important that scholars apply for scholarships? Because that's my hang up. This is what I see with students.
Mm-hmm.
So as a scholarship provider, can you just give us some insights? Let me
Okay. It's important for a number of reasons. You know, it provides scholars with obviously access to college. You know, many students aren't able to go to college because of the costs associated with it. And so it reduces the financial burden of a college education. It also, that's the primary reason, it reduces the financial burden, but also it allows you to, depending on the type of scholarship you get, it allows you to do other things with your time. You know, a lot of students, particularly first generation students, because these are the scholars that I normally work with, they have to work part-time or even full-time, you know, to even pay for their studies. So that right there frees up their time if they're able to secure scholarships to pay for college. So those are the primary reasons why I think it's important for scholars to apply.
That's awesome. Can you give some tips to scholars when applying for scholarships?
Based on what I see when I have the scholars apply for hours, I would say carefully read the instructions. Address every question in the guidelines. If the directions for the essay specifically asks for you to address certain things, be sure to touch on each point and expand. I would say apply for all types of scholarships, the small ones, the larger ones, all types of them, because they all add up. And one of a good strategy is I always tell the scholars to create a scholarship calendar and just list all of the scholarships that you qualify for and its deadline down, and that will help you get organized and keep you abreast of the deadlines. And this calendar should probably be created in the junior year towards the end, because some of the scholarship opportunities and deadlines are early, takes place early in the first quarter of the academic year for your senior year. So those are some tips that I always share.
I'm glad you said that, because one thing that I want to touch on with the listeners is Tiffany said something key. It's, you can create that calendar in your junior year. And what we hear a lot is that scholarships are for, seniors, the big pushes for seniors. But there's actually scholarships for juniors, even 9th and 10th graders. So I'm glad you said that, because a lot of times students don't start the process until their senior year, but there are opportunities, scholarship opportunities, your senior year that you can apply for if you qualify, of course. So that was that's my takeaway from what you said as well. Yeah. So some of the things, though, that I hear scholars say as I'm working with them is that they don't qualify for scholarships because they're not an A student. So can you tell us, like, what is the qualifications for your scholarship?
Okay, well, our scholarships, the applicants for our scholarships, they must be a first generation student. And first generation students are those students who are the first in their families to attend college, or their parent or guardians have some college, but they don't have a bachelor's degree. So that's what first generation students are. You have to be that. You have to have a minimum cumulative GPA of 2.5, reside in the state of Illinois or Texas, have student leadership, volunteer experience, and write a 750-word essay introducing themselves, their family structure, career goals and or interests, share any challenges that they have faced and how they have worked to overcome them, and describe the impact that a college degree would have on them and their family. So our scholarship is a prime example of not being required to be an A student. Yes, there are all types of scholarships available. So students just have to be diligent in finding them and being committed to the process.
Yes, and again, you said some key takeaways. Again, because you have to be diligent and committed to the process, because indicated it's a 2.5. And I've also, just for the listeners, I've seen scholarships where the providers are asking for a 2.0. And so what I want the listeners to know is scholarship providers that realize that all students are not the same, and the criteria are different. So what Tiffany said is key. You have to be diligent and keep, and be committed to the process. So again, you're dropping some gems here.
One of the things too, I noticed that students, they X themselves out. I say, don't X yourself out before you even get started. Give it a try. And I know that the scholarship process is a very arduous process, because when I was applying for scholarships for my daughter, and did you hear what I said? Applying for scholarships for my daughter. Because she wouldn't do it. But I know it takes a lot of effort, So I just say, be diligent and put your best foot forward. And you never know. You just never know what the outcome will be until you give it a try.
I agree with you. So when you're reviewing your scholars' essays, some of the essays that were submitted to you, did you have anyone that touched your heart? It just blew you away. Do you mind just sharing a little bit about that with us?
I've read hundreds of essays, scholarship essays, and there have been several essays that has touched my heart. But one of the, one in particular that stood out for a couple of reasons. And this one particular student, she was one of our first scholarship recipients. She was African American and Portuguese. And she shared in her essay, and she was one that addressed everything in there. She shared in her essay how her family had to move to Portugal because her mom was ill. And so when she was there, there was a language barrier. She had to learn how to speak Portuguese. And I think she was about in the 5th grade. And she talked about the impact that had on her and the difficulties that she experienced in that foreign land. And then once her mom became better, they came back to the States, to Chicago. And she talked about the difficulties she had transitioning into the schools, and how when she was very honest. Like when she was a freshman, she didn't do well, but then she finally started putting her best foot forth. And what I liked about that one in particular is because she did not meet the requirements in terms of a GPA for our scholarship. And I think, so ours was a 2.5, and I think her GPA was probably like a 2.2 or something to that magnitude. But she explained that in there, and she said she recognized the mistakes that she made. She talked about the pluses. She gave examples of the accomplishments she made, and just took us through a journey of why her grades dipped here and how they came back up. And please, she said, please, would you consider my application? And I just thought, I mean, that right there, that told me that she was persistent.
Yes.
You know, she was persistent, and she was giving it a try. She did not X herself out. Like I said before, she did not X herself out. She knew she didn't have the GPA, but she knew she had everything else. And so she took a chance and applied for the scholarship, and she got it.
Wow, so that's an amazing story.
That was one of my most favorite. I talk about that all the time. One of my most favorite stories about the scholars. Yes.
That is a good one. She took you through the whole process, and I'm that you explained that, and how there can be some exceptions that providers make, because she met all the other requirements,
right,
except the GPA, but that's the exception you made based on what she said. So that is excellent. Wow. And such an impact that you made too, winning that scholarship. Well, is there, so as I was looking on your website, I see that you have, a variety of services that you provide and workshops that you do for students and for families. What is the one program that you did for a family that you didn't expect of the outcome? I mean, it just blew you away. Any particular program or workshop that you hosted or did that just blew you away, or husband?
Well, I would say most times that we don't necessarily supply needed funds, I would say, outside of the scope of what we typically do. And this is going back to like our, so we give care packages to college students, particularly the ones who we gave scholarships to. And so we've given out the care packages. And then in my weekly check-ins, not my weekly, but my regular check-ins with the scholars, just to see how they're doing, I learned that one of them was struggling in terms of not having enough food to eat. And so she didn't ask for anything. I just was able to pull that out, gather that from our conversation. So I just went ahead and, sent her funds and told her this should last you for at least 2 weeks. And that was something that I didn't expect to do, because, we have guidelines, and but that's our mission. Our mission is to, empower them to finish school and to succeed in school. And you can't even focus on your studies. You can't even be successful if you're hungry, So that was something that I didn't expect to do, but something natural that just took place.
Wow. I'm sure she was thankful too. That was one less burden. Like you say, you're at school to study and you can't focus if you hungry. So that's awesome. Something is telling me that you probably have some more amazing stories.
Yeah.
As you grow. So take note of it. But that is amazing. So Tiffany, anything else that you want our listeners to know about scholarships, about your organization, or about you?
Okay, well, let's see. Well, our scholarship application, it will be open in January, the first week in January of 2021 for all eligible applicants. And the application will be available on our website at www.togethersfoundation.org. Um, we are right now preparing to launch our mentoring and leadership development program for first generation high school and college students. So we are in the process of looking for interested individuals who want to volunteer as a mentor. So our mentor and mentee applications will actually be open on Thursday, October 23rd. So if there's anybody that's interested in applying, they can find out about that. That will also be on our website. And lastly, but definitely not least, we are always looking for volunteers to serve in various capacities. Right now, we are looking to add to our board of directors. So, and we're considering college students as well to serve. So that is what I want you all to know.
Awesome. Great information. Thank you so much. Lastly, how can they connect with you besides your website? Is there another way to connect with you?
Yes. Follow us on Facebook at The Togethers Foundation. So if you type in The Togethers Foundation, we'll pop up, or it's at 2G Foundation. And you can follow us on Instagram at The Togethers Foundation as well. Those are our platforms.
Well, thank you again for taking the time to talk with my listeners.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me.
You are welcome. And thanks to all the listeners. Until next time.